In today's video, I'm going to be arguing that cheating is a good thing. No, I'm not. However, I am going to be arguing that there is much worse forms of cheating than sexual cheating. And for some reason, our society has this obsessive focus on sexual cheating. Alright, so I'm going to give you a couple scenarios here, and I want you to write your answer in the comments. And if you don't write your answer in the comments, it's not a big deal, but I will track you down. Alright, so I want you to really think about this, and which would piss you off more? If your partner sexually cheated on you, if your partner respected another man or woman more than you, if your partner liked doing an activity, which is your favorite activity. Let's say your number one thing is playing baseball. I don't know. Baseball's pretty popular. Let's say they feel more intense love with another person than you. I think a lot of people would say some of those scenarios are worse than cheating. So what's the big deal about cheating? Does cheating even matter? Yeah, I think it does. So realistically, what are most romantic relationships built on? They're built on sexuality. That is the cornerstone, to put it metaphorically. If you remove that, then the relationship will most likely crumble. Most relationships are built in a very shallow way. So does cheating matter? Well, if the cornerstone of your relationship is sexuality and the person's cheating, well, then the entire relationship is now insecure, right? What's to say that they're not going to find someone they like better? And if they find someone they like better, sexually, why would you not want them to trade up? Let's say you're in a relationship and you want people to be as happy as possible. Well, if they find someone they enjoy having sex with more, then wouldn't you want them to trade up? If the only way you can make them stay in the relationship is by preventing them from ever exploring other options, then that doesn't seem like a very ideal relationship by any means. It doesn't seem like a very secure relationship, and that incentivizes cheating, right? And this is why cheating is going to happen. But I want you to consider this scenario here. Okay, this is something interesting. Don't ever tell someone promiscuous this, all right? Because I guarantee you, if anyone promiscuous hears this idea, they're going to use it as justification to cheat, all right? This is probably one of the few logical justifications that actually makes a decent amount of sense. Okay, so think about your favorite food. Let's say your favorite dessert, right? Do you eat other desserts than your favorite dessert? You might have a preference, and that preference might be stable and secure. For example, I could derive 9 out of 10 dessert pleasure from eating baklava. My favorite dessert is baklava. I love baklava. But I still enjoy other desserts, right? And I could maybe derive 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 pleasure from eating other desserts. So the question is, could you have one person who is clearly your sexual preference, but then still have these other sex partners that you enjoy to a lesser extent? Yeah, that's logically conceivable. And is that person secure in that scenario? The person who is 10 out of 10 their preference? Well, I think to an extent they are. You could have a polyamorous relationship where the key pillar is sexuality and have security under that circumstance. So in that sense, that's possible. One major problem with that would be is for each additional partner you take in, it is subtracting from the sexual relationship of the preference. So even if, let's say, I have a 90% preference for one person, if I'm sleeping with 100 people, then only like 1 out of 100 times is that intercourse with my preference, right? But I think, there probably is some cases where there is a sexual preference and there's, 1 or 2 other people on the side, and they interact maybe once a month, once a year, a very small amount of interaction with these other people, and that would be a sustainable polyamorous relationship. I think that is a conceivable scenario And I think that that's something that decent people should be somewhat open-minded to, right? I think that's something that you can be reasonably open-minded to and still pursue true love. But by all means, I don't think that, I think that most of the time someone's going to be using that argument, it's not going to be coming from good intentions. It's going to be coming from a way of rationalizing and justifying promiscuity, right? In reality, you're probably not even their sexual preference, and they're just using that as a justification to cheat, right? So be careful. It's a dangerous line of thinking, but that is something to consider. Now, I want to give a equivalent argument, but with something that isn't sex. Okay, let's take respect, because I find it very interesting. Most people don't have a problem with their partner respecting other people, unless that respect is equal or superior to them. And in fact, in most cases, I don't think relationships are even built on respect. So, 9 out of 10 times, they probably don't even care if their partner respects someone more than them. If you ask your partner, what person on the planet do you respect the most? I doubt most people are going to say them. They're probably going to say, I respect Elon Musk. I respect Gandhi. I respect Mohammed. I respect someone else. It's probably not going to be them, right? So, for someone like me, I consider respect a much better foundation for a meaningful relationship, right? So, if my partner respected someone more than me, that would enrage me far more than if they cheated on me. And don't get me wrong, cheating on me would also aggravate me, for sure. But I think that respect is a lot more important. I would think that's a better basis for true love than sexuality. Because what is sexuality? Well, it's very much genetic, right? It's very superficial. And sometimes it can be deeper, right? Because sexuality can become an expression of love. And sexuality can become an expression of respect. It can become an expression of trust. It can become an expression of something that's deeper, right? So in a lot of cases, sexuality can mean a lot, right? But in that case, it's not actually the cheating that matters. It's the fact that they're respecting someone more, right? It's the fact that they're loving someone more. If they were only cheating and not respecting these other people or trusting these other people in any way, right, then you wouldn't actually care, unless the sexuality is the component of the cheating that actually matters, right? But yeah, for the most part, sexuality is, it's about looking good. It's about being healthy. It's something, there's no real virtues behind it. Most of it is just genetic, right? I always ask really attractive girls, how much of appearance is genetic and how much of it is what you do, your lifestyle, makeup, and presentation. And most of the answers I get end up around 50-50. All right, so let's go back to this concept of respect, right? I really wouldn't have a problem with my partner respecting other humans, all right? If they respect Socrates, that's fine. I respect Socrates to some extent. If they respect Steve Patterson, I respect Steve Patterson a lot. I think he is the best intellectual on the internet. I think he's the only intellectual who will seriously challenge the incompetence of the experts, right? And win. I wouldn't have any problem if my true love respected Steve Patterson or something. All right, so now I want to kind of bring that back to sexuality. And is it reasonable to expect your partner to never have attraction for anyone else on the planet? Is that a reasonable expectation? I wouldn't say it's any more reasonable than the respect thing, right? I think it's pretty unlikely they're not going to find anyone else attractive on the planet because there's other attractive people. There's other people who are objectively attractive. If you were to list the qualities that make you attractive, right? And I mean the internal qualities too, like if your virtues. There's going to be other people on the planet who possess these virtues to a lesser extent. So, of course, you would find them attractive, even if it's a internal attraction, even if it's a personality-based attraction, if it's not just physical. There's other people who are going to possess these qualities to a lesser extent. So, where is a realistic standard? I think that varies a lot based on how insecure the partner is, right? So, some partners, they would be completely okay with their partner having intercourse with another person because they're that secure in their relationship. They know their partner loves them much more, and that this is just a side bonus. So how do you come up with a realistic standard, right? Where do you draw the line? Is there any line that applies to all relationships? I don't think so. Now, another important point to consider is, again, what I was talking about earlier, which is that by pursuing additional relationships, you're detracting from the first relationships, right? So let's say I am 70% funny in the mind of my partner, and they know someone who is 95% funny. Now, humor is certainly not a big point of relationship for me. If my partner does not find the same things that I find funny, I don't care that much. I'm not a very laughing guy. If you've seen my videos, there's not too much humor in them. Maybe a little here and there, but comedy is not super important to me, right? So doesn't it make sense for them then to cheat on me in terms of humor, right? Doesn't it make sense that they would just go hang out with someone who's funnier when they are in the mood for a laugh, right? Yes, I think that is rational, but there's a good argument against that as well, which is that it makes sense to invest more into true love. The more ways you can bond, the stronger the bond becomes, right? So if you have a bond that's your true love, which is foundationally secure, and then you have this extra bonus of an additional humor bond, well, that relationship is superior than the one that is just foundationally compatible, but is lacking more superficial connections as well, right? So that's an argument I would say to invest a lot in true love. Anytime you can invest in it, I think it's a very good investment, right? Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about is human nature, because I think there's very different sexual preferences in terms of the quantity of interactions among different people. And I think there's three main profiles of sexual preference. There's devoutly monogamous. These are people who are completely sexually satisfied with one partner, right? And they might have some attraction for other people, but there's just no desire to actually have sex with someone else because that one person is just so awesome. Everyone else is out of the picture, right? That's one profile. And that one's pretty rare. Most people I don't think are like that. The second profile I think is the most common one, and that is a person who is mildly polyamorous. This is where they want to have intimacy, they want to have emotional connection, they want to have growth, they want to have respect, they want to have the actual components of a loving relationship, but not with just one person. They want to love multiple people. I think that is the most common profile, and they want to have 2 to 5 or 2 to 10 partners or something, right? And then there's a third profile, which we would call sluts or promiscuous or whatever. I guess sluts only applies to females, though men can obviously be sluts. And this is where people just want to have as much sexual intercourse as possible with anyone they find physically attractive, right? And, a girl I know made a good point, which is that most people don't strictly fall into one of these categories. Oftentimes they'll shift from one to the other, or they're combinations, right? But I think that's right, and I think that most people are closer to number 2. So that's another thing that's important to consider. So it's very important to understand your biology and what you are, and if it can change, right? Because, if you're promiscuous, then you're in no position to be looking for true love. And if you're polyamorous, then you probably shouldn't be looking at people who are monogamous and so forth, right? These things can't be changed a lot of times, right? So I think that's about all I want to say on the topic. If you like this video, share it, subscribe, blah blah blah. Send me a check for $1 million. That's a joke. Ha ha ha! So funny. Yeah, leave comment below. What do you think? What do you think is the worst form of cheating? Is it respect? Is it love? Is it understanding? Is it compassion? There's so many different pillars a relationship can be built on, right? What is the worst form? Is it sexual? What do you think? And I say, everyone, if you want to talk to me, I'm very talkative. You can send me an email, you can add me on Facebook, you can leave a comment below. I'm going to respond for sure.